About a week ago, Blaire White put out a video where she claimed that a mother is forcing her child to transition from boy to girl. Now, her video relied specially on footage released by the child's father when the child supposedly admits to those things, and from news sources, from conservative news sources and some conservative Christian sources as well, which are very biased and are actually distorting information about this case. Now, before I proceed, I want all of you who either love or hate Blaire White to watch this video with an open mind, because even though there is quite a lot of criticism to be made for her video, there is also some positive things that need to be pointed out about her, not only about her video, but about her as a content creator, because I think she has evolved quite a bit over the years, and this is something that her critics, especially her most vitriolic critics, and I used to be one of them, don't seem to really miss out, and I think be a little bit uncharitable to her. This is not the first video that I make about Blaire, that I correct her on something. Now, I did a video a few weeks ago where I corrected her about cervical cancer screening for trans women, that some transsexual women who have sexual reassignment surgery actually need pap smear. Even though the video is well received, I had an interesting criticism from my friend Auntie Ordinary. She said that Blaire is just a commentator. She just sees things on the internet and she just puts out her opinions about it. In my channel, I do things a little bit different. I like to do some research and actually make a case for an argument, make an argument for a position based on evidence, etc., or be skeptical about a claim and then just investigate it. Now, I understand that you might say that's nitpicking, that I am just judging Blaire through different standards, blah, blah, blah. And I'm fine with that. I can understand that criticism. I still stand by my video, but I can understand the criticism. But this case here is different, because she is making claims about another person, like very serious claims, claims that can damage somebody else's reputation. And I think not just Blaire, this is to all content creators and journalists as well. When you make those claims, you have to be super careful about your sources. You have to make sure that your sources are not fabricating or distorting information. And I think this is where Blaire failed. Oh my God, I just spilled wine and I'm not even drunk yet. First, let's go through the accusations or allegations that Blaire is making.
Now, if that's true, that seems like a blatant attempt to sort of manipulate James's idea of what a boy and girl is, trying to sort of almost imprint the idea that being a boy is bad, you're not a boy. And I don't know what the motive of this mother is, because apparently medical records are all stating that this boy is female, and I'm not sure if you can do that unless you legally change it or not. But regardless, there just seems to be a lot of choices being made for this boy. But the mother has been going to consultations for puberty blockers, is, quote, not ruling it out, and it seems like this boy's fate is already decided.
So she's making the claim that people are making the decision for this child, that this child is already having their future decided for them. That is false.
No way.
Now, Rose of Dawn, for example, she had a very good take on this, because she's saying that we should look at these very serious allegations about this mother with a lot of skepticism as well. We can't just trust this father's word and take it on face value. We should start questioning him as well. And she points out with evidence that this man has, you know, a very, very shady character.
Whilst we certainly can't read the mind of a child, and especially us who aren't medical professionals wouldn't be able to diagnose whether James has gender dysphoria from our armchairs, we should also take a similar level of skepticism over Jeff's claims. I say this because on February 27th, 2017, Judge Kim Cooks, who is the same judge who has been ruling on the current case, issued some findings in regards to the divorce between the couple, and it makes for very interesting reading. For example, it notes that Younger, who is the respondent, induced the petitioner, who is Judge Ulas, into marriage by fraud. It goes on to give a long list of various lies.
Now, I was directed by Holy Kool-Aid to timbah.on.toast's video, where he made a very, very thorough review of the case through testimonies by the father, by the mother, by teachers, by child services agents. It's extremely thorough, and it's a fucking brilliant video that I recommend to everyone. Everyone should, after watching this video, go watch Timbah on Toast's video, because it's extremely good. And this narrative that Blaire White is repeating about the child having their decisions being made out for them is false.
The CPS agent is first asked about the results of her investigation. She's asked, "Did you find any evidence to support any of the allegations?" She responds, "No, I did not." Were they 100% ruled out? Yes. As part of her investigation, the CPS agent went to the child's school and interviewed the child without either of the parents in the room. This would make an excellent control test to investigate the father's theory that the child just affirmed the preferred gender of whichever parent is in the room with them. Neither parent is in the room now, so there's no pressure for the child to say anything one way or the other. The CPS agent is asked to read out loud the notes she took whilst interviewing the child. Here's what they say. The child states they feel safe at home. They say that they're sometimes afraid of their dad because he's once called the cops on their mum during open house at school. They say this scares the kids who live with the mum. They state that their dad called the police because he didn't want them to be at open house with their mum and he wanted their time. The child states this happened yesterday and the police didn't do anything. They state the police have never come to their house before. They also state that they're afraid of their dad because he doesn't let them dress in girls' clothes because he thinks it's all about your body, and it's not. They state that their mum lets them dress how they want to dress. The child states that they feel comfortable in girls' clothes. They state that their mum has never made them dress in girls' clothes. They just want to. They state that their mum just wants them to be happy and safe. They state that they also ask their mum to paint their nails for them. They state that they prefer to be identified as a girl because that's what they like. They state that no one is making them. The father is then asked, "Do you have girls' clothing at your house?" He responds, "No." The attorney asks, "So if Luna makes that choice, she can't even fulfill it there?" The father responds, "That is correct. We don't allow it at my house."
And what is very clear when you look at the case is that the father, because of his religious beliefs, doesn't want the child to transition. He's the one manipulating it. And with that in mind, I want you to watch the footage that Blaire puts out in her video to support her argument. Now, I'm gonna let the footage play and I'm gonna make some observations afterwards, but I want you to watch this footage very, very careful because there are some things about it that are just off.
I'm a girl.
Who told you you were a girl?
Mommy.
When did she tell you you were a girl?
'Cause I love girls.
Oh, I see. So mommy told you you were a girl?
Uh-huh.
Does mommy do anything else like with a girl with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Like dresses.
What does she do?
She do put them on me.
She puts dresses on you? Oh, wow. And what else does she do?
She buys my headbands,
Uh-huh.
me hair clips.
Oh, hair clips? Okay. Does she do anything with your fingers?
Yeah.
What?
She paints my nails.
So mommy puts you in a dress and puts nail polish on you? And what does mommy tell you?
She tells me I'm a girl.
Oh, okay.
Now, the first thing I want you to notice is how leading the questions were. The dad is asking very leading questions to the child. And another very important thing is the amount of cuts that you see in this footage. And some of them are between the dad asking the question and the child answering, or cuts in the middle of the child's responses. This is very serious. This seems to me it's a very heavily edited video that is clearly creating a narrative. And not just that, when you look at the child's behavior, you can see that the child is not very comfortable with those questions, especially by the end of the footage where, the child is like looking down and stuff. you can see the child is not feeling very comfortable with this line of questioning by their dad. And children can have gender dysphoria, and that is something that Blaire acknowledges in her video.
You know, I do believe 7-year-olds can experience gender dysphoria. I was one of them.
I was a child with gender dysphoria as well. I only came out and I only addressed these issues with my therapist when I was over 20. But when I was a kid, I already suffered from that. I didn't tell anybody. I suffered in silence. It was fucked up. And if I actually had some support when I was a kid, my childhood and especially my teens would have been a lot better. So as trans people, we know how fucking awful gender dysphoria is, how distressing it is. And when you are a child and you can have support, we should be happy about that. We should be happy that children today are giving the opportunity to deal with these issues openly, when they don't have to lie to others and don't have to lie to themselves about having gender dysphoria. That can actually be addressed, and schools and parents can try to accommodate so the child can be happy, because this is what it's about. This is what transitioning and etc. is all about, is because it improves our lives. So it's very clear that it is the dad who is manipulating this child, and Blaire fucked up. She fucked up. She's just making a reaction based on very biased and bad sources of information. But I want her critics here to take some things into consideration. And I used to be a fierce critic of hers. I used to call her Milo on estrogen because she was a fucking mean troll. She used to be extremely mean to people and say very demeaning things when it was completely unnecessary. But I think she improved from that. And I think this is something important to point out as well. Now, as I said, she's not a skeptic. She's not someone who's going to do a thorough research about stuff. She's just reacting to shit she sees online. And if her sources are bad, she's going to have a very bad interpretation of what was happening, and this is the case here. She was careful to say that these are allegations. She was careful to say that this is her opinion. And by the end of the video, she invited the mother and the child to talk to her.
In the off chance that the mother of James is viewing this video, I don't want to come across as I am attacking you. In fact, I would like to publicly reach out via this video if you watch it and say, let's have a conversation. I would love to talk to you. I am not some random internet troll. I am not some anonymous person on Twitter. I am not some hater. I'm a trans woman myself, and if anything, I've walked this path that your son and yourself may seem to think is the right path for him. And I'm actually willing to talk to both of you.
Now, I know that some of you are going to say that she's just trying to set this woman up. And I think that is very uncharitable. You don't know that. You cannot make that accusation. You don't know what's going on in her mind. Maybe she legit wants to talk to this woman. You don't fucking know. And she wants to see her side. You don't fucking know. People seem to make the assumption that she's just a horrible person and everything that she does is wrong and bad. And I think that is just not being a skeptic. Like, let's be fucking honest. People who criticize her seems to just assume the worst of her and think like she's fucking Hitler. And I actually make the joke as well that she is basically the trans version of Godwin's law, because whenever you say something that the SJW crowd doesn't like, they just immediately compare you to Blaire White. So it's like she's the tranny Hitler, basically. And that is something that I do not agree with. And yeah, I have fucking issues with SJWs, but SJWs are fucking bigoted.
But
you're a bigot.
Transgendered. Yeah, sure.
Now, I of course don't agree with everything that she says. In fact, I think I disagree with her more than I agree with her. But I also think that the vilifications people make is not right. It's not how skeptics should behave. And it's just bullshit. And to be honest, I agree with her with some issues that she has about puberty blockers to trans kids. I have ethical issues about that as well. I understand her position. People probably at this point, those who know me know my position about trans athletes. I'm not completely against it, of course, that it would be unreasonable, but I do think that women's sports should have some protection, and trans women who want to compete with women, they have to meet certain criteria, and it has to be objective. And we're not just like, you identify as a woman and then you can compete with women. Like, it's absurd. That's not how it should be. And I'm also called transphobe for that shit, and it's fucking stupid. And yeah, Blaire White pointed out on her video how any disagreement with the SJW trainers is you are immediately called a transphobe, and that's fucking stupid.
The biggest thing for me is that the trans community seems to have no self-awareness of how they're viewed by the outside world. They literally have no clue. A lot of these people are so caught up in their own sort of discourse and people who agree with them that they don't realize how insane it sounds that a 7-year-old is having his gender changed legally, is going to appointments for puberty blockers, and they just think it's so bewildering that anyone could possibly, conceivably think, should we slow down just a little bit? No, transphobe.
Totally agree with her on those points. This is something ridiculous that exists in trans community, in skeptic community, atheist community, and it's something that has to be addressed, and it actually pisses me off, and I think pisses a lot of people off. Many of them prefer not to say anything about this because they're gonna be branded as transphobes as well, so they just prefer to keep quiet, while some, they simply go along with it because they, want to be accepting, want to be open-minded, but then they are labeling these fucking assholes to just go on and calling everyone they disagree with transphobes, and that is just bullshit. I think that pretty much covers everything. If you like this video, leave it a like, leave it a comment, share it, whatever. If you like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. A big thank you to all of my subscribers, and a super massive thank you to all of my patrons. I've been Sarah Michel. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Cheers.